Karibu sana kwenye session nyingine ya Men the podcast. Na leo kidogo unaweza kushangaa kwa nini imeanza tofauti. Ni kwa sababu tumekuwa na maongezi mazuri sana lakini yamekuwa marefu. Kwa hiyo tulichoamua kufanya ni ukigawanya maongezi yake katika sehemu ya kwanza na sehemu ya pili. Na leo hii unaenda kusikiliza ni sehemu ya kwanza ya maongezi haya ambayo tumefanya na bwana Princely Glorious. Na katika toleo lijalo la Men the podcast, basi tutaenda kwenye sehemu ya pili ya maongezi haya. Kwa hiyo usishtuke ukiona kwamba imeishia katikati tu, ni kwamba leo unasikiliza sehemu ya kwanza na wiki ijayo utaenda kusikiliza sehemu ya pili. Karibu sana na uenjoy Men the podcast.
Men the podcast.
This is Men the podcast. Mimi naitwa Michael Baruti. Princely, what's up?
What's up, Michael Baruti?
I am great. Nadia, can you do the same thing?
No, do what?
What's up, Michael Baruti, with a deeper voice?
What's up, Michael?
Clearly, hii sio mikato yako kabisa. Yeah, Nadia, can you do it in your soothing voice?
I don't want. It'll be too sensual.
What's up, Michael Baruti?
Yeah. Oh, man, the madness
We
in
don't
the
want them to
studio.
listen to it like that.
Kaka watu wanasikiliza afu wako vizuri.
Yeah, on Twitter at Men the podcast on Twitter and Men the podcast on Instagram. Vile Michael Barut, like I said earlier, tuko na Princely pamoja na Nadia. Yeah. Nadia is our resident psychologist. What? Okay, I hope we get through maongezi yetu vizuri. Not with this hype around, yeah? Princely, mambo vipi?
I'm good, man. What's up?
Oh, good, man. It's been a minute, man.
It has been a while.
Yeah, actually, so in case you do not know, let me pull this up right now. Mm-hmm. We had Princely on katika moja episode zetu ambazo zilisikilizwa sana apparently.
Ndo mambo yangu haya.
And yes, it was episode number 12. It was episode number 12, which ambayo ilitoka May 2020.
Okay, so
8
this is
May
exactly
2020.
a year.
Exactly a year now, imagine.
Just a little over a year. 1 year anniversary.
Like a year later.
Yo, every May, I'll be here. Next year, 2022, Princely's on Men the podcast, May 8 to 16. Hapo katikati hapo.
Add it to your calendars.
Add it to your calendars already. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. And the conversation ilikuwa nao kipindi kile ilikuwa becoming a man in the age of feminism. And it was a very great conversation. And ikaleta some feedback. And I guess that's the whole point ya kuwa na podcast is kuweza kuzungumzia vitu na kujaribu kukuza maongezi na kufanya watu wazungumzie vitu zaidi. So I would like to think that podcast was a success.
A huge success.
A huge success because
It started a
generated a
discussion.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had. I personally had a lot of feedback from people, not necessarily agreeing with me,
which is okay,
which is good. Yeah, which was good. It generated like a healthy debate, I would say.
Yes.
It wasn't attack. I don't think anybody was attacking what men was saying or what I was saying.
Yeah.
But it's just a difference in perspective, and I think it's a good selection of topic, and we had a really great discussion.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
So,
So a year later, tukaona why not bring in Princely back? But so before we get into it,
Asante studio.
you're welcome. So before we get into it, I would love nataka nisome post moja ambayo you shared on Instagram.
Okay.
So this is the post ambayo apparently sioni tayari, labda mimi mshamba wa Instagram.
Maybe.
But I can read the post.
Okay.
I think that's the most important thing.
All right.
Tatizo wako na Viingereza vigumu liandiko mndani, kwa hiyo nikikosea spelling mniweke sawa jamani.
Pronunciation.
Yeah, so Asante studio.
Asante
studio. So Prince alisema is it oscillate or oscillate?
Yeah.
So far, so good. So I oscillate myself between being the son of Glorious and being glorious myself. So Glorious ya kwanza with capital G, which means, and Prince anaitwa Princely Glorious. Ya pili ni being glorious, you know, with a small G.
Mashallah.
So, and here, and I can look, so one thing I've got is range. I go from boardroom to chips za jero in a jiffy. From cocky funny bastard to kind sweet soul.
Ndo mambo yangu, eh.
I am the most adaptive badass in the game. Yeah? I feel at home everywhere and nowhere. And I feel a kinship with everyone. Most people get the sense that they know me. I'm on their level because I meet them on their level.
I do.
I adapt. The one thing I am is adaptive. Ask 100 people who I am, and you get 77 different answers. This is dope. Range
Sound
comes
like a
with
rapper.
So range comes with experience and is fueled by curiosity. You can't buy range at the supermarket. You've got to
try
develop it. You can try that. Come on, Anisha. You've got to develop it. You've got to try shit, do shit, love people, get your heart broken, break hearts, shake souls, go places, eat shit, get burnt, live a little. So I was telling Kitundu Jonathan, I guess that's your friend, yeah?
Yeah,
So
I work with him.
Okay, great. So I was telling Kitundu Jonathan how much life is packed into his life. He's done so much, lived so many different lives, and he flipped it on me. I've packed so much life into 29 years I've lived on here, and so adapting to something new is easy. I am because I try. I am intensely curious. The tension between me and things I don't know is a lesson in chemistry or in magnetism. That was deep. I had to take a pause. I had to take a pause, right? I don't know kama uliandika kwenye peni before ndio ukaandika huko.
I'm never gonna flow to anyone wangu freestyle kama Jay-Z.
Talk your shit, talk your shit, talk your shit. Yeah. So I'm drawn to stuff I do not know. I love knowing, I love doing, I love thinking too, but I've learned action is greater than all that is into action, which is true. You're getting a peek into my head right now. Laughing emoji. That is me being a proper narrator. Yeah? A morning dose of memory and self-talk. I am the most adaptive badass in the game. I get life because I've lived life. I trust my instincts because I put them to the test and they won most times. I've emceed speed dating shows, spent night with Hadzabe, learning about God and weed and how not to be possessive. Had Kemo live in Somaliland with some people I mentioned hapa. Lost my bags of gifts for family in Bangkok. Preached in snow at the age of 11. Been mistaken for a local most places I've been. Did Nyege Nyege, then went to record a story for multinational the next morning. This is the Nyege Nyege festival in Uganda.
Yes.
Anyway, this is turning into a reminisce. Go be adaptive. Develop range. Maybe reminisce on your own life here. I love you. Well, most of you anyway. That was so I read that.
Yeah.
And so what came into my mind, and this would be the first question that I'm gonna ask you is how confident do you have to be to put this thing out there?
How confident?
Because
How
this
brave.
is and how brave, because this is really saying, I don't give a fuck about what y'all think. This is me. And this is what I see and this is what I feel. Bisha kama unataka, but this is the you're like, you're on your Jay-Z moment right there. You know?
I didn't even think about it that way. I guess there's a little dose of narcissism in there as well. But I'm sure there is. But it's mostly the funny thing is when I was writing that in the morning, the night before, the few days before, I wasn't feeling like myself, right? And so, in a sense, this was me reminding myself, and so I have a habit where I write most mornings. I sit down and I write, and that day, I posted that with like a really great photo of myself as well. I just gotten this set of photos from a friend of mine who I work with at Honor Stories, and he'd taken these photos, and I was like, wow, these are fantastic. And in that morning, I was reminding myself of the things that I value about myself. And I was like, yeah, why not? Let me share this with everybody. Why not? So I put the photo and the words itself. Now you're reading it, I'm like, oh, this actually sounds really poetic as well.
Na kutaka kuonyesha kwamba you should know kwamba by now ilikuwa bado iko kichwani kwangu. After all this time that you
all
posted
these months,
because it's not like you posted yesterday.
I know.
This was like a while ago.
Yes, it is.
So I read it and I'm like, So it's like, kuna yale mawazo ambayo unajifikiria about you. Lakini you cannot say them.
Most of us, we have this false humility, I think.
False humility. Talk on that a bit.
I don't know. I think we have this idea that humility means thinking lowly about ourselves. While I don't think that's what humility is about, and I'm not an expert on humility, clearly.
Disclaimer. Yeah.
But I think humility is understanding your limits. It's not knowing your strengths. I think humility, and maybe I should let that sink in. But
Pause a bit.
Pause for a little bit. Humility isn't about disclaiming or saying that you are not all that you are. Humility is knowing that despite all that you are, you also have limits. And you also have weaknesses. And you also have things that you're not so good at. And so understanding that you are more than just your strengths, you know? I think that is humility. Understanding that, so most of us look at humility and think that I have to think lowly of myself, or I have to express that I am less than what I am. Like express to the world that I am less than what I am. And I don't see the value in that. Like there's no, if the only way you can inspire other people to be all that they can be is to show all that you are. And I'm no expert in that either. But there are moments when I can feel that, okay, I'm a great writer, for example. And the only way to show that to the world is by actually writing and putting it out there and saying, hey, I've got some thoughts. Please take a look. What do you think? Then that inspires other people. We started this thing called the Andika Challenge a few months ago. And we just started it as a challenge between my girl and I, right? Ourselves, just internally, right? And I was like, yeah, I think,
She's a good writer too.
Yeah, she is. She's quite a good
Who's
writer.
better? Between you and
I don't know, man. She's a really excellent writer. I don't think I think in terms of who's better or who's not.
Right.
Because
you gotta know exactly what you're saying right now.
Because we use it as a tool to think clearly, right? So it's less about at first, at least, it was less about quality. It was more about let's just get our thoughts out of our heads onto a piece of paper, and then we'll improve it together, right? And so we work on a lot of those together. I'm not gonna get into a competition here, but we started that, and I just doing one every week. We've not been entirely consistent, but we've been fairly consistent. It's something I'm quite proud of. And along the way, what started as something that we're just doing for fun has become something that we really use as a tool to evaluate ourselves. We put in a lot of the conversations that we have in there. And what I'm more impressed with is that other people have seen that and said, oh, I want to write too.
Wow.
I want to share my thoughts too. Can I do Nani? So we have over 54 articles on the Andika Challenge now as we speak. And it's not just the two of us. It's been generated by, I think it was over 10 people, right, who've joined us. So to bring it back to the point about humility, a lot of us tend to shy away from the light and tend to shy away from saying, hey, I've produced something, I think it's great, what do you guys think? Or I've produced something and here it is, I want to share it with you. So many of us shy away from that, thinking that that is humility, but you're not serving anyone in doing that. You're in fact, it's and I'm not a psychologist, I'll put in a disclaimer, but it's a sort of twisted sense of narcissism, and I'll tell you why. Right? We think we matter more than we do. Pale ambapo tunaogopa kwamba watu watanichukuliaje. Wakati most people don't give a damn about you. Like most people don't give a shit about you. Like they don't care about how you woke up, what you think of yourself, what you're wearing. You are the one who cares so much about yourself that unaogopa kwamba watanichukuliaje.
Forgetting kwamba watu wengine wana maisha yao na mambo yao.
Maisha yao na nani inawezekana kuchukulia chochote. It's just they won't think of you, you don't cross their mind, you don't nani, so unaogopa. Kumbe, it's a form of narcissism that is placing an importance of yourself that is a lot more than most people in the world generally care more about themselves than they care about other people. And to think that I am afraid that people might think of me in a certain way, or I'm afraid that if I do this, something that is true to me, people might take it differently. Really, most people don't give a shit about you. You should give a shit about yourself. Yeah.
False humility. Do you think, and then this is before we get into kuingia kwa undani zaidi, do you think kuna watu tunachanganya between being humble na kuwa na false humility? Do you think kwamba kuna kwa sababu ukiniuliza mimi katika context yetu ya Kiswahili kabisa nikijaribu kuileta na sisi wa Tanzania tunavyoishi, mara nyingi sana tunampenda mtu ambaye ananyenyekea. Mara nyingi sana. I don't know if it's, sijui sababu ni nini, lakini tunapenda hivyo, tunapenda. Yes, na I hate the word serikali ya wanyonge. God knows I hate that word. But ndio neno ambalo lipo sasa hivi. Lina trend vibaya, na mimi nasema namshukuru Mungu, nastaki Mungu anipige vibao, mimi sio mnyonge. Kwa hiyo namshukuru Mungu kwa hilo. You know, so asante sana. So tukijita wanyonge ni kama vile tuna mimi binafsi naona kama nakufu. Mediocrity. Yes. So now, this is what I want to ask both of you, you and Nadia.
Yeah.
Do you think tunachanganya between humility and humbleness? Kwa watu wengi, na sijui kwa Kiswahili tunaiwekaje kuwa humble na kuwa na humility? It's
No, I think they're the same thing, but I'm just saying kwamba there is a misunderstanding of what true humility is. Yani kwamba one of my favorite thinkers is actually a guy who is a fighter. Right?
10 minutes in, tayari tunarifaa vitabu.
No, it's actually this will surprise you. It's not a thinker in the typical sense. It's a UFC fighter. His name is Israel Adesanya. He's the middleweight champion of the world. Absolutely love. I'm a big fan. Right? So Adesanya, I've done a post actually on our Andika challenge called the surprising wisdom of kickboxer Israel Adesanya. And one of the things he talks about is humility. He says something that back in the country where he grew up in New Zealand, they have this thing called tall poppy syndrome, which we have even here. Essentially, poppies are these kinds of flowers, and poppies, usually the farmers who grow them, they cut the ones that outgrow the others so that they're all on the same level. This is my general understanding of this. So they want to keep the field on the same level. So all the plants, they have long stalks, and then it's a red, orangish plant at the top with a black center. So they cut the ones that outgrow the others so that the field is on one level playing field. So he and the people in New Zealand, they call this thing tall poppy syndrome. When somebody is outshining others, we cut them. We try and bring them down. When somebody is like seeming larger than life, or like
more like a crab in the barrel.
Crabs in the barrel, to pull people down or whatever. And we don't call it that here.
Ruge, rest in peace, anasema kataa kuwa kaa. Alikuwa na ile kampeni ya kataa kuwa kaa, in the sense that
crabs in a bucket.
Crabs in the bucket, in the sense that kaa waga wanawekwa wakiwa kwenye ndoo, wametolewa baharini, wamewekwa kwenye ndoo tayari kwenda kupikwa. Yeye mmoja ambaye anapanda juu anataka kutoka, wenzake wanamvuta chini. Wenzake kuvutana mle ndani ili kuhakikisha kwamba wewe utoki, tuendelee kubaki vile vile.
Exactly.
And you think that's the mentality most of us tunakuwa nayo hapa.
Kwa hiyo Ruge amepatia sana anaposema kwamba kataa kuwa kaa. In the sense that so many of us we have this scarcity mentality in our heads that we think that somebody else shining means I'll shine less. While there's like a billion stars in the sky, right? There's like a whole space for all the stars in the world. Our own sun is just one of billions, right? And the sun shining doesn't mean the other stars are not going to, right? So Adesanya talks about that tall poppy syndrome and says, I'm not going to dim my shine to make you comfortable. I'm not going to make myself less than what I am so that I can accommodate you because you are insecure about who you are, right? And so in the moments where I have my own insecurities, I deal with them mimi kama mimi. I don't try and involve watu wengine sasa kwamba na wewe usishine na wewe ili wote tuwe ili nijisikie vizuri mimi kwa sababu I'm feeling insecure. No, I should say, okay, this dude is shining. I should shine too. Maybe I can do it as well as...
I can...
Yeah, and it's that whole... It goes back to that whole thing. Yani kwamba we think that we matter to people more than we do. But if you think, it even surprised me that you're like that you think it's brave that I wrote what I wrote because I wasn't even considering in the first place.
You were not thinking about other people at all.
How would people take this? I was like, no. Today I need to remind myself that I'm the shit, and so I did. I reminded myself that I'm shit because the night before and the days before that. So that's the thing. You don't have that backstory that this dude has been maybe not feeling like himself or not feeling like he's the shit for a week. And so now he's like, you know what? I am. And I'm going to remind myself and I'll put it out there. And I got so many messages. My thing cross-posts on Facebook and I had like, I don't know how many comments on Facebook and messages and whatever. And, some guy said, oh, this is like narcissism. I'm like, yeah, maybe it is actually. And other people, but most people were just like, wow, this is inspiring. Man, I connect with this line here. Oh, I think this. And maybe during the course of a conversation, I can pull it up. Oh, no, I don't have my phone. But people were connecting with it. And I was like, oh, I'm glad I did it. Because I was doing it for myself, but it's inspired other people to think that about themselves and to affirm themselves. So it's not about dimming your shine so that others are comfortable. It's more, I'm going to shine as bright as I can so that I can inspire other people to also shine as bright as they can. And even if I don't inspire them, maybe I'm not that important, then I've shown and I'm happy about that.
Wow. That's nice. That's nice. So, that would be before you even get into each other to discuss today. Oof, this is going to be a long one. But yeah, that is Princely Glorious. Princely is a storyteller. He does a lot of he has his own company, Honor Stories. Now, they do a lot of storytelling issues, Basically, that's what they do. But Nataka, the main reason now, coming to... Nadia, I thought I said the other episode that was the longest introduction ever. I think this is...
No, this is an introduction.
This was just an introduction. So, so Princely...
I hope it's valuable so
it
far.
It is. I'm not going to edit it out. Don't worry. So yeah, I want to talk about this day we were texting and then you sent me a text and I said, bro, I've been tested, I've been tested mentally, and when the time is right, I think I should come to the podcast na kuja kuzungumzia mambo mental health. Now, the main reason tunafanya men the podcast ni ku-amplify conversation kuhusiana na mental health, especially kwa wanaume. So whenever I get a brother ambaye ananiambia, bro, I just want to come there na kuongea kwa sababu by now, this is our 30-something episode. By now, we've done enough to understand the power of sharing. Na how much conversation ambazo zinatokea huku zinaenda ku-impact watu na watu kuona, okay, so I'm not the only one who's been through that and he got out of it. So whatever it is that I'm going through now, there's always a way out. Let's talk about that, man. What happened?
That's a very broad and packed question. But yeah, no, I remember this is around December maybe.
Yeah, it was in December.
It was in December. I think it was around December when I texted you saying, hey, bro, ile kipindi uliniita mental health ilikuwa mashallah. Lakini
it was on point.
Lakini sasa hivi I've been so since around October. There were just a whole different range of things that were happening in my life. And some of it, I'm an entrepreneur and you're not always sure about where the money is going to come next. And it had all kind of like, it takes a toll, right? And there were some things that are happening personally as well. There was a whole, I don't remember even the specifics, but one thing that usually happens with me is that when I'm stressed, I become very perfectionistic. And it's one of my like stress responses is I become very critical of myself and I become very exacting. Like I really want to do everything right. And so I was overworking myself and then criticizing myself constantly. So we talked about the Andika challenge, and I remember a few months before that, my girl had written this article about cultivating a gentle inner voice, which I thought was super, super useful. And I remember thinking that I need to read that article and to practice it, to essentially cultivate an inner voice that that reminds me that I am the shit, that reminds me that I don't have to be perfect, that reminds me that I can accept reality for what it is, and I don't have to try and control it, or I don't have to try and change things for what it is. And I kind of wish I actually came when I had texted you about it, but then you reached out last week or something. I was like, okay, this is a good time. I'm back to like feeling like myself again and whatever. But I just know that what had happened at the time was a series of like uncertainties, right? Made me super, super anxious. And I think often, I tend to say, this is an unwritten, unfinished article that I'd started around that time, actually in December, that perfectionism is undiagnosed anxiety or untreated anxiety. We have a therapist in the room.
Nadia, I'm a little drink.
So perfectionism is often unresolved anxiety. It's that I'm anxious about something, and so I feel as though I have to control things. And if I'm going to control them, then I need them to happen the exact way I want them to happen. And you do that for a month, you do that for 2 months, you do that for 3 months, your relationship with yourself and with your mind and whatever, because you're not in control of things. You can't control the world. You can have a level of mastery, and have a level of ease in your life, but most of that ease and that mastery comes from just accepting that, kuna vitu ambavyo vimenizidi uwezo na kuna vitu ambavyo siwezi they're beyond me. You can't control you're trying to get a client, you can't control their reaction. All you can control is your side of the bargain. I remember we had a client at the moment who was really stressing us out as well, and we were doing all we can, but they were just not happy because I think they wanted to go with someone else, whatever the actual reason was. And I remember just telling myself and telling my team at the time, kwamba, you know what, all we can do is our best. All we can do is as much as we can, and then we have to say, kama it's not good enough, then that's it. I can't.
Now, that is something I want to ask both you and Nadia. I don't know who's going to go first. Do you think...
Nadia should go first.
I think Nadia should. But Nadia, do you think sometimes kwa sababu nikijaribu kuisimplify alichosema Princely, ni kwamba sometimes tunajilaumu na kujihukumu sana kwa vitu ambavyo viko nje ya uwezo wetu. Like Princely said, you can only do what you can do, and that is the only thing you can control. Like, we can only control how we produce this podcast na kuipeleka uko nje, but we cannot control watu wataipokeaje, wataipenda. We cannot control that. The only thing we can control ni sisi kuwa humu ndani. But then, so for instance, tukifanya and then nobody listens, tunaweza tukaanza kujilaumu sisi kwamba maybe tulikosea hapa, maybe atukufanya hivi, maybe atukufanya hivi.
What can I do better?
Na vitu kama, do you think hicho ni moja ya vitu ambavyo watu tunajihukumu sana kwa vitu ambavyo viko nje ya uwezo wetu na inakuwa na impact kubwa sana? You've never said that. Na maana miaka yote nauliza kama swali ya kipuzi.
Kitopolo. I'm learning new words.
Ouch.
Hey, you learned the word kitopolo. Utopolo.
Match clinic.
Mimi ni mshabiki wa Yanga. So msema maneno naumia.
Kumbe shabiki wa utopolo.
Time. This is the part I'll definitely edit. Yeah.
Ukiedit tunakuja tunairudisha.
Yeah.
But yeah, ukiangalia, like, even the world right now, most people are focusing on things that are out of their sphere of influence. So wengi wetu, people who have actual anxiety focus a lot more on the external, things that they don't really have control over. But after the general population, for some of your anxieties, it's a natural human reaction. It's an emotion. It's a state that we all go into. And to an extent, it's useful. Because it pushes you to do your best. Because if you're anxious about how are people going to receive it, you'll actually push yourself to produce the best that you can produce, as Princey said, because hauna uwezo wa produce something that, let's say, the next person can. You only have the power to produce what you are able to produce. But ndiyo, to answer your question, is a lot of us who do suffer from anxiety or who do find ourselves in this spiral where we are unable to kind of get out of this rut or unable to move forward, ni tunakuwa tunaangalia sana the external rather than internal. Na pia kwa sababu it's harder. It's harder to look inside. In your circle of influence, what you can control is harder kwa sababu unajua you can actually hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
Kwamba wewe Nadia unaweza kufanya 1 2 3. You know, but what's stopping Nadia from doing 1 2 3? So it's easier to focus on outside.
Yeah.
Kwa sababu najua fika huko siwezi kucontrol.
So you can blame.
I can blame
externalities.
So ukiangalia deep down, it's more an escape from accountability to ourselves. So baadaye I can blame on, it was my family that did this for me, and haikuenda sawa, so it's not my fault.
Yeah.
Or it was the friend. Ni jamii yetu hairuhusu mtu kushine. But who's stopping you from shining your light? Kwa sababu muda mwingi, hata what Prince was saying, there is a
shiny bado unasema huyu vipi?
Unaanza kumuita someone a narcissist, why? You know?
Yeah.
But what Princely did was not getting into a spotlight. It was just him letting his light shine. And that's what created the spotlight that you're seeing.
I say nakuja men kila siku.
We're going to have to charge.
You know, so wengi tunaogopa. Kwa sababu, what if I don't have that light? What if I don't shine as much as the next person? Na ndo maana sasa we dim our light. As Princey was saying earlier, I think what the first part in vizuri with what we're looking at. Ni wingi wetu tunaogopa what is inside. You know, and we don't want to explore that. Kwa sababu unajua sasa ukiangalia inside, ndo unaona sasa ukweli wako. Unajiona wewe. Nadia kama Nadia. What is Nadia able to do? What is Nadia not able to do? So, mwisho wa siku ndo hivyo. It's easier. It's more distressing to focus outside. Kwa sababu one, you don't have any power. But you have power over yourself. Because ukiona na upungufu hapa, unaweza ukajiendeleza. Kama ni course you take, you do it. Lakini ukiendelea kufocus externally, you continue to struggle kwa sababu huwezi kucontrol, and you continue to remain where you are. You don't grow.
I think it was Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, and this is us now going the directions that our conversations usually go.
Yeah.
But Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, I think he's the one who said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And that a lot of the things that there's more things out there that can frighten you than can harm you. And I think that's like super powerful. This is something that was said over 2,000 years ago, but it still rings true that most of because if you ask me today what I was anxious about those months, right? I am like, what the fuck was wrong with me, right?
Yeah, now that you think about
now
it,
that I've gone past it.
Yeah,
it's essentially just worrying about things that are beyond your control, right? And I did some self-examination. I was like, okay, you're worrying about things that are beyond your control, and I was able to kind of like accept that, okay, you were worrying, which is hard for someone like me to even accept in the first place, that I am anxious.
Yeah.
So
you're like Mimi,
please. Mimi niko anxious, Mimi.
Yeah.
I'm not getting nsumbua.
Yeah.
But then for you to first say, like, you know what, I am actually feeling anxious, and it's just a generalized anxiety. It got really, really bad to a point where I remember this, and this is the first time I think I've ever said this. Maybe I don't know, but we won this award, this prize for as Honor Stories, my company. We'd applied for this thing. Aga Khan University have this prize.
I saw that. Yeah.
So it's a media innovation prize. We won it, and we received the news. I was in Kigoma. And we were super excited, and I went to the bathroom. I was just so overwhelmed, and I was so unhappy because what my external and my internals, they were not matching. You know, I was feeling so terribly shitty about myself, and then I have this thing that's outside of me saying, wow,
You should be proud
you're
of-
incredible, you should be proud. And so that dissonance, that mismatch that was there, I was like, why am I not happy about this? Why am I so concerned about all the other things that I want that I'm not having, and have this massively beautiful thing, over $20,000 that we're winning, a chance to produce stuff that I've always wanted to produce, a chance to work with these incredible mentors and trainers from Aga Khan University. It's something that, you know, when we started on our stories, these are the types of things we thought we would want to do. We would, you know, like it's all of those things coming together. And here I am, worried about nonsense. You know, like I don't even remember like the specifics of what I was exactly like worrying about, but I'm just, I'd like this and I'd like this to go this way, and I'd like just a perfectionist style of trying to control things and to control your reality without just saying, you know, this is great. This is a fantastic thing that's happening to me. And I remember just going to the bathroom and looking at myself and having like a moment with myself, like, no, bro, chill, relax, enjoy this moment you're having. This is a great thing. Stop being worried about stuff that's you'll forget in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And so it goes back to that whole that quote that there are more things out there in the world that can frighten you, but there are very few things that can actually harm you. And so the thing is, your brain doesn't really know the difference. It's up to you to kind of train yourself, because Nadia touched on this, saying that anxiety can be useful. Right? So why did we evolve it? Why did we evolve fear? Why did we evolve anxiety? Is to protect us, right? We have these things to stop us. Like I feel fear for a lion because the lion can potentially kill me. So my body doesn't want me to think too much of whether I should engage with the lion or not. My body will just give me fear, and then I'll be like, oh no, I'm not going to engage with this lion.
Yeah.
It won't be a thought. It will be just the emotion will come and you'll stop yourself from, you know, adrenaline or whatever. All these, like, whatever the actual, like, chemical pathways in your body will take over, and you won't interact with that lion because it's dangerous, right? But the thing is, I don't remember where exactly I read this, but your body doesn't know the difference between you being a hunter-gatherer and being faced with a lion and somebody who you wanted to let's say, be in a relationship with rejecting you. It just thinks it's the same fear. It's the same anxiety. It's the same fear of rejection, same as fear of lion. You know, like it's the same chemical pathways. You know, like it's the same neurochemical pathways that go in your body. So you're just afraid, right? And so your body is trying to stop you from doing this thing. In this case, you don't want to get rejected, and in this other case, you don't want to be eaten by a lion. Right? So it's about you to kind of like train yourself that, no, this one is frightening me, but I shouldn't be worried about this one. This lion one, I should probably be worried about the lion, but I should probably not be worried about rejection because,
life goes on.
Life moves on with or without it. I'm not going to die,
Yeah.
right? But we don't do that. We don't really train ourselves to see things as, no, this seems frightening, but it's not harmful. It's not going to harm me.
Now I want to bring that to kwa sisi, I want to bring that conversation kwenye nature of the podcast, which is about man na vitu kama hivyo. I think umetoa mfano mzuri sana in the sense that we need to be able to choose what to worry about in terms of fear, but then what to worry about and what not to worry about. But I'd like to think kwamba it takes a lot of introspection na kuweza kujua. Na kuweza kujua na kuwa na hiyo understanding. Do you feel like a lot of us kama wanaume, we don't get time kufanya hivyo vitu, so as a result we end up worrying about the wrong things? Because I do feel like as men we worry a lot about the wrong things. You would worry about, now katika context ya kawaida, you would worry about washikaji zako watakuchukulia vipi,
ni
rather
kweli.
than your partner knowing kwamba your partner anaweza akaend relationship na maybe this is the person you have kids with na nini na vitu kama hivyo, but you worry about watu wengine
Wana.
watachukuliaje na wana na vitu kama hivyo. I'm just trying to bring that context in here.
Yeah.
Do you think that is the same thing that is happening now? Again, a lot of us hatujui kuhusu hivyo vitu, so probably we end up making a lot of wrong choices.
Yeah, again, I'm not a psychology expert
Nadia
or anything
is.
like that, but Nadia is, yeah, fantastic. We have Nadia here. But the only thing I can say is I'm a man and I have experience of being a man, right? And so I think it's very true what you're saying, because even the moments when I felt the most worried and anxious, whatever, is when I've stopped doing my daily practice of introspection. Essentially, I've stopped because for a bit there during that moment when I'm saying I was feeling super, super anxious for like 3 months, extremely, like it was fucking hell in my head. And I can't, like, that's the sad part, is like I can't even point a finger at like I was anxious about this thing.
Yeah.
It was just this generalized anxiety that is, I'm just worried that things are not going to go the way I want them to go. So in those moments, in that moment, I find that I had I had overinvested, let's say, in work. I had overinvested, let's say, in everything else that isn't me, right? And I hadn't really done the stuff that you know. We get to a point where laba you've done some level of introspection. You kind of feel like you understand yourself to some degree, like you have some degree of understanding of yourself, and you kind of feel as though it came automatically. You forget that you put in work to get there, right? So you stop doing the things that made you self-aware, and beyond self-awareness, there's something I read that was super interesting yesterday by Mark Manson. He says, self-awareness without self-acceptance is hell, or something like that.
Because now you just know. You just know.
Yeah.
Or your shortcomings, or your gifts, but you're not really
And so I
accepting.
think at that point, I had a lot of self-awareness, which I have in bounds, because I examine myself so much. I write so much about what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I know to be true, what my principles are, what my values are, what I've learned. I do a lot of that. Like, I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of really deep discussions with people who are close to me. So I'm constantly looking inside. But I think I had always paired it with self-acceptance. I'd always paired it with, that's who I am, right? Kind of like that post that I did. It's like, I'm the shit, and that's who I am. This is me. This is how I am. But I think at that point I'd stopped doing those things. I'd stopped the writing. I'd stopped the meditation. I'd stopped I love taking long walks on my own, and I look like a crazy guy walking and talking to himself. And just walking around the street many times barefoot. If you want to do this, come 5 p.m. in Masaki somewhere. I won't mention the street, but you can find me walking barefoot, talking to myself. And I kind of stopped that. And so I go to work, I do it, and I'm so pressured that, oh man, there's all these clients have not paid us on time, and there's this, like all these different things, right? And I go back home super late. I sleep very little. I wake up very early, and I'm just stressed. I can't work for a while, and then now you get into the groove, and you stop exercising, eating well, just doing the things that help you be you, because you assume, no, I'm fine. But those are the things that actually make you who you are. Those are the things that actually, those are the crutches. I'm not meeting up with people, and I'm very extroverted. And so if I'm not actually going out there and meeting with people, my energy is off. So just what I learned so much, and it's something. It's probably going to be a lifelong lesson, because I tend towards perfectionism. I tend towards that's like my form of anxiety. I become perfectionistic, and then I'm like, oh shit, I can't actually do this. And I remember this since childhood, by the way. I remember like drawing on pieces of paper and not drawing like the lines straight enough, and just being so disappointed and saying, I don't want this, and my mom telling me, Prince, usijali mwanangu, the line doesn't have to be straight. It's fine. right? So I tend towards that. So it's probably a lifelong lesson for me to kind of say, no, Brinsley, usijali.
Yeah.
Usijali.
That
The
inner
line
nurturing.
doesn't have to be straight.
Yeah.
I've said two things there. First is the self-nurturing, which a lot of us men tend to not do, right? We just live our lives, because
On autopilot.
on autopilot, right?
Yeah.
We have a duty, we have a responsibility to our spouses, to our families, to our friends, to our businesses, in my case, for example. And so we just do those things because they're our duty without taking the time to examine our lives, without taking the time to nurture ourselves and tell ourselves, it's fine, it's okay. Usijali. The line doesn't have to be straight.
Yeah. Nadia, how important is that?
No, it's important. I mean, what Princely just said right now, our duty to our spouse, our family, our friends, but nowhere there was a duty to ourselves. Because that's one big duty we have.
I see.
We have a duty to ourselves as well, to make sure that we're well. Just as tunaangalia watu wengine na we care for others, we need to start caring for ourselves. Nadhani that's where all the problems start. Is that, especially also for men. We're talking about men today.
Always.
Always.
Nadia, always. What you mean today? Always, Nadia, always.
Nadia leo ndo kaanza kuongelea men
Official.
kwenye men the podcast.
Kila siku nilikuwa naongelea wanawake.
A year and
I'm
a
joking.
half, Nadia.
No, so men tend to put others.
Yeah, that's
Even
true.
ukiangalia hata women. This is, I think, ndo tamaduni yetu. Even beginning when you said we're taught to be humble. It
It's
inasaidia
humble for
watu
others,
wengine.
not us.
Kwa sababu if I'm humble and I don't shine my light, then you can shine brighter than me. And that's okay. So
And you can be comfortable.
It's always to make others happy, others comfortable.
And we think it's selfish to think of ourselves.
Exactly. And we see it as a Western thing. So there are things that we got right in our culture, and there are things they got right with their culture.
Yeah.
Like
And it's
in-
finding that balance. Eh?
Yes, kuangalia haya. Kila nikikaa I dim my light. Huku mimi nakufa tu kwenye kishade. Kwa sababu at the end of the day we also need sunlight, hey? There's seasonal
Photosynthesis.
there's seasonal affective disorder. It's an actual disorder in the
Yeah, it's
DSM.
true.
People who live in countries that have harsh winters, they end up feeling very depressed kwa sababu hawana jua. So
Sweden, wapi huko, Norway, where there's months where they go.
Yeah.
They have
They
very
barely
few
get the
hours
sun,
of
yeah.
sunlight, like a few 4 or 5 hours of sunlight or less.
And that's literal. Literally, your body needs the sunlight. Imagine internally your headspace. What do you need? Because if you're constantly keeping yourself in the dark, you're gonna fall sick.
You
That's
can't
where
pour
now.
from an empty cup.
Yes, you're going to be unwell. So ni muhimu tukumbuke kwamba yes, ni vizuri kuangalia wenzetu. Because there's research out there in abundance inasema volunteering, taking care of others is great for you. And it is. Lakini not to the expense of yourself. Kwa sababu kama wewe you're not well, how utamsaidiaje? It's the same, pouring from an empty cup. Your cup has nothing. Unasaidiaje yani?
Ni kama kwenye ndege utaambiwa abiria vaa kwanza.
Yeah, put your own oxygen
Kabla
mask
hujamsaidia
first.
mwenza.
Mask.
Kabla hujamsaidia mtoto.
Inaweza kama mtoto wako
Msaidie
mwenyewe,
mtoto,
lakini
afu
vaa kwanza wewe ndo msaidie.
Sasa utakufa ukiwa unamsaidia.
Alafu umemvalisha kwenye
Afu mfe
chogo
wote.
or something. So mnakufa wote wawili and then what's the point?
And then bring it back to issue making choices na wanaume.
This is the thing I wanted to jump in, but you said that we can choose what to worry about. We really can't choose.
Okay.
You really can't choose. Your mind just pops shit like that. What you can choose is what you do about that thought. So the problem in Kujaga is we're trying to restrict these thoughts from coming.
That's true.
That's another battle in our heads we are fighting.
That's true.
Lakini, once we realize kwamba hawezi, you cannot stop thoughts, you cannot stop emotions, you cannot stop other people from doing what they want to do. Yani, these are things that are out of our control. Yeah? Lakini what you can control is, what do I do with this realization? I'm worrying about this thing that I'm producing. What you do with that knowledge is what we have the choice and power in.
I think it's super powerful that you're saying.
Everything that they're saying, Lord, is super powerful.
No. It's true though. It's true. It's true.
She's on point.
She's on point. Yeah, mwenye ananiambia kama Prince alivyosema. Naomba ikumbukwe hiyo.
Tutaweka kwenye answer.
Naomba iwepo kwenye answer.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know if you want to ask another question, if you want me to flow
No,
from
you
that.
can pick from that, and then I'll have another question.
Great. So I think a lot of what she's said, which ties into what I was saying earlier, lakini it reminded me of this passage by Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche.
That's the third book we're talking about.
This is the third book we're talking about today.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about knowledge and stuff like that, Karibu sana.
I'm your guy.
Princely Hope
Call
Glorious.
Prince.
Call me. 0753, I won't finish the number. Anyway, so Friedrich Nietzsche, he has these really amazing concepts that they're more like broader philosophy. Like they're not necessarily just personal philosophy. They're more broader, but let me just say them and then we'll link them to this conversation. One of the concepts he says, which is like super, super useful, and this is a guy who ended up going insane, so take this with a grain of salt. But he talks about this thing which he called amor fati, which is Latin for love thy fate, right? Which isn't fate in the sense of what you know, like kismet, like what we normally think of as fate, but in the sense of love the conditions you find yourself in, love the, like, you as a human being, we're kama Michael, you're a certain height, you're a certain tribe, you're a certain, you're born to a certain family, you live in a certain place, you're married to a certain woman, you have, there's these circumstances of your life, they're yours, right? And you've got to get to a place where you actually love them. You don't just accept them. Because there's that thing for I accept, which is great, and it's important to accept the things that you can't control. But he says beyond just the passage, if I remember correctly, goes something like I am in a complete surrender to God. And this is a guy who said before that God is dead. But I have gotten to a place where I'm in complete surrender to God, where I actively love what happens to me, where I don't only accept that this is my life, I'm like, I am going to actively love my life. I'm going to actively love that I am who I am. I'm going to actively love my height and my skin tone and my hair and my and you know, those external things which men don't usually think about consciously. We think about them, you know, in the back of our heads. And I'm going to love my children. I'm going to love the salary that I get. And I'm going, you know, like all these different sets of circumstances. The hand that you've been dealt, you know, I'm going to take it and I'm going to love it. I'm going to accept it. And I'm going to accept. Yesterday, actually, it's funny. I'd written about we confuse mastery with control on mine. And we confuse the mastery of life with a control of life. And so we aim for control because control is easy to try. It's not easy to get right, but it's easy to try to control things.
And as humans, tunapenda vitu ambavyo ni rahisi.
Ni rahisi, right? So you'll try to control your wife and tell her, and then after a while you'll come to realize, you know, you actually can't control her. Like regardless of Nani, maybe you can manipulate her and do this and that, but it will almost always end up in her rejecting you or like having some type of what's the word, like hata kupenda sana na wewe unachojaribu kutafuta labda ulikuwa unataka kupendwa, right? Like,
so you're going about it the wrong way.
But you're going about it the wrong way, right? So you'll try and control your kids, and then they'll rebel. You'll try and control people at work, and then they'll
and I think that is one thing a lot of men try to do sana as in being, because again like what you said, I think and you umeweka vizuri sana kwa sababu hata mimi light bulb mpiga ting kwamba most of the time tunachanganya
mastery
and control. Na sometimes unaweza kaisi nimemaster this not really, no, you're just trying to
the kids that you're trying to control very hard, They're going behind your back, wanaruka ukuta, they're getting screwed huko, wanarudi nyumbani, you know. Well, they could have not done the stuff you wanted if you had maybe a proper conversation. I don't know. The circumstances would be different.
Yeah.
But we think that mastering life is controlling it. And the thing is, mastery almost always comes from accepting the things that are beyond your control. And then saying, okay, there are going to be factors that I can't control. And then these ones that I can, I'm going to do as much as I'm going to put my heart and soul into them, and I'm going to love them, and I'm going to do my best. Kwenye iki kiposhe ni ambacho nani. But let's make it less abstract. Let's look at someone like, let's say, Messi, right? He's on a football field. He's a master of football, right? He knows in that moment that akiwa na mpira, he can control. He is the best in the world when he has the ball. And maybe sometimes when he has off the ball, he knows where he can stand to receive the ball. But he also knows that he's not the goalkeeper. He shouldn't be worried about yeye amekaa kule mbele, shuti linapigwa huku. If he uses his headspace to worry about blocking it, that means he's not using his headspace to worry about attacking what he can do. Yes. And so he becomes a less better player than he is.
Pause. Tufikirie.
Tulia dawa ingie.
Go on.
Asante sana. Asante studio. But so yeah, we have this confusion of mastery versus control. But then somebody asked me when I put this up on my status, so do you mean that there's no way I can say I don't accept the way my life is and I can improve it? I was like, that's a really, really good thought. Let me think about it. So I thought about it for a bit because, you should be able to say, I don't accept the way things are. I'm going to improve them. But I think it's beyond, I think the insight here is beyond accepting. It's about accepting the stuff you can't control. Na kujua the distinction kwamba jamani kwenye huu mstari hapa kwa upande wa how people react to me, kwa upande wa watu watanichukuliaje, kwa upande wa how people will act, kwa upande wa watu wengine kwa ujumla wao hawanihusu. Mimi kinachonihusu ni mimi. Kwa upande wa kwamba sijui nimezaliwa wapi, nimekuaje, mwili wangu ukoje, sijui ni nini. There are portions of it that you can control. There are portions of it which you can't. So if you start worrying about the family you were born into,
there's nothing you can do about it.
It's a pointless battle. Yeah. You're going to spend years of not accepting yourself just because you couldn't have chosen it. Just fucking get over it. That's the one thing which I think Nietzsche captured really well with Amor Fati is like, actively love your life. Actively go beyond just saying, I accept it. Go into, how can I love this shit that I'm in and love it? Easy to say, hard to do.
Again, that's there's something you want to add, Nani?
No, I was just saying kwamba, I think I don't know what headspace he was in when he was writing this, but I like it in a sense that kwa sababu if you don't accept, let's say it's a situation, let's say you're in a concentration camp, you're a Nazi. You can't get out of it. There's nothing you can do. Maybe you will come out of it at some point eventually, but at that moment, how would you we? So accepting and going beyond and actually loving it, you're putting yourself in a headspace where this distressing environment is now no longer something that I pick and worry about and distress over. Kwa sababu distress is all sawa, it's not in our heads, but a lot of it is in our heads. Human beings are very powerful, than in reality. Hata pain is very subjective. Wewe naweza nikakufinya hapa na mimi nikafinywa, wewe ukaumia, mimi nione tu kama vile a mosquito bite. Because it's how I'm thinking about that pain. So I think it's a good place, a good statement that he said, kwamba, go the extra mile and actually just fully embrace it. And it works in situations where kabisa huna control. Let's say you're now living in a country where there is no peace. fully acknowledge and accept that this is my life. And then kwa sababu one, the acceptance inakupa an opportunity to actually see what is it that's out there in front of me.
And you stay calmer.
Yeah. And then when
you're not frightened, you're not panicked.
Yes. Your head can actually think of a way forward.
So umeshakubali bana.
It is what it is. You know? And then if you do have options, then you can see, okay, so this is the reality. I accept that I am not the best. Yeah. But I would like to be this type of person. So what can I do? Lakini hapo, you only get to what can I do and what are the areas I can improve after you accept kwamba mimi kama Nadia, I am a mediocre person. Either I've assessed myself, other people have told me, or what. You need to come to terms kwamba wewe sasa hivi uko hapa. If you continue to battle and not accept the reality you're living in, then hautochukua steps za kubadilisha kwa sababu kama wewe haukubali kwamba mimi sio Bill Gates, wewe kichwa chako unaona wewe Bill Gates lakini maisha yako sio ya Bill Gates. You're not going to do anything to get there kwa sababu haujakubali kwamba hauko pale. You know, so but in situations where huwezi kubadilisha circumstances, I think the best thing you can do for yourself is to love it.
Amor fati.
Amor fati.
Especially what you said with parents and family. You cannot, families are a big source of distress for many people.
Because hatukubaliana na hiyo hali.
Exactly.
Wow.
So once you've accepted, okay, family yangu ndo hii, I have a dysfunctional family. Hata kama wewe kama wewe kutoka and break that generational curse as we call it, inabidi kwanza accept kwamba my family is messed up.
Has a curse.
And I have been fucked up.
Yeah.
Like I am damaged.
Yeah.
But I do not want to be this way. Lakini unakubali. Na huwezi ukasema moving forward is literally taking steps away from the distress, ndio. But it's your family. You can't really just say goodbye. I've seen what this is and what it's done.
Yeah.
I don't want any part of it.
Baruti. Nataka tuniwe Michael.
How unaweza. Lakini tunavolelewa hauwezi.
Yeah.
So loving the family, the dysfunction and everything in between helps you just to be more comfortable. So unaweza ukaendelea kuchukia mamangu yuko hivi, babangu yuko hivi, uwezi ukambadilisha.
Live. You're listening to Live with Men, the podcast.